What I want to show you with the kick is how to get it sounding like this. And this is a serious gem plug-in, and just crank this sucker up.
Oh, it's 'cause I let them drums talk.
What's good, guys? It's your boy Kaze of kazebeat.com. Welcome to the new video. Today's tutorial is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be focusing on drums. I'll be using loops from Ron Da Vinci. My bro's been killing the melody game for a while, so if you want to check out his kits and his melodies, the link is in the description. The way that this video is going to be structured is I'll be making two beats. I'll be showing one style of drums for the first beat and another style of drums for the second. What you're going to learn from this tutorial are keys to making crazy drum bounce, keys to awesome VSTs and plugins that will take your drums to the next level, and keys to mixing your drums to get that nice punch, and some mixing rules that we can break. So if that sounds good to you guys, let's go ahead and get into the video. So this is a beat I already started. I kind of cheated and I started cooking this up over Thanksgiving. The loop that I'm using comes from my man Ron Da Vinci. He released his second melody kit, which is called the Da Vinci Code Volume 2, so make sure you guys go check it out. Links are in the description. The particular melody we're going to use is called Corona, so I'm going to take off the effects and let you guys listen to it in its raw and uncut form. Bro, why the hell do I say things like that?
Fire.
This is just a very simple high pass filter essentially, and I took off some of the high end there so it's a little bit less harsh. Then I use Valhalla Room. This has more of an effect of pushing sounds back into your mix and just making them extremely roomy. I didn't want to add too much reverb, so I pretty much turned the mix down to about 50%. I turned the high cut to 6K. The reason I stopped at 6K is because a lot of hi-hats, they sit in that 6K range. So in order to get some really clean, crispy drums, I just want to make sure that I'm not adding extra sound up there that I don't need. The last thing I did is I went over to Sound Toys and got the effects rack. Echo Boy is an awesome plugin, and I've used it before, but for this melody, I think we have enough going on. So I turned that off, and I kind of kept on this chorus effect, which is called Primal Tap. The next thing that I like to do is start off with the 808s, and I know there's probably a bunch of different ways and methods of beginning to build your drums, but for me, and the way I think about this beat is I want the 808s to be the main thing, and so it makes a lot more sense to start off building that 808, and then you can kind of go around and build your other sounds and drums. The 808 I decided to go with kind of sounds like a Spins 808, but it comes from a Cash Money AP kit. One of the most common practices is to hit your first beat and then your third beat within one bar. And all the other stuff is just kind of extra. Another important thing with your 808s is to not overcomplicate your processing for it. I've made the mistakes too many times in the past by just setting up like a bunch of parallel tracks in 808 so that I can process it and get some crazy sounds. If you're going for a simple vibe that an artist is gonna want to be inspired by, you honestly just need to pick good 808 sounds and keep it there. A lot of other producers, they know what they're doing when it comes to processing their sounds. When they create their kits and then they process their 808s and then send it out for you guys to download and use in your beats, they've already processed it a bunch, so there's really no need to add all that extra sauce that's not required because you might just oversaturate everything. The way that my templates are set up is so that I always have this parallel processing available to me. The only thing I'm gonna do is go to this 808 bus where all my signals are being sent and then put on a clipper. And different clippers have different effects. I've been experimenting a lot with JST clip, which is an awesome one. You can get it for like 27 bucks. The other is a TR5 classic clipper, which I just got recently, and I started using it a lot for my 808s. Literally the only reason I'm putting a clipper on this channel is so that we can control the volumes of the 808. I'm gonna play the pattern for you, but I'm gonna take the clipper off so you can see what happens to the volume at certain points. We get these spikes and it's not consistent. This clipper actually adds a nice saturation to some sound. Turning your slope to the right is really going to square off those sounds, and then slope is you're kind of moving it more towards what a limiter does, and you're rounding off those sounds instead of just chopping them off. We're going to go over to the output and just turn it down a couple dBs, because we saw that the difference in dBs was about 2, so we're just going to go ahead and take off that peak. There you have it. That's all we're going to do on that 808. Next, we're gonna take a look at the hi-hats and the snare. And so I've got this rim right here, and all I did was I adjusted the out knob so that we're cutting off some of that tail. If you want to, you can layer another sound like a bell or triangle, this kind of tinny, trippy sounding hi-hat. And so when we play those together, it sounds like this. I decided to go with 2 different hi-hats, and if you've been following me for some time, you know that my tag says let the drums talk. So I like the effect of having 2 different hi-hats so that they're kind of like talking back and forth. I like using 1/3 steps at the points where the 808s come in. So here's an example right here. You also want to make sure that you're adjusting your velocities downward like this. The other thing is you can adjust your fine pitches by going over to control and then selecting your fine pitch. I imagine this particular hi-hat I'm using as the main hi-hat pattern that's going to kind of hold the beat together. This other hi-hat is more of a backup, and I mainly use it for hi-hat rolls and stuff. The most common places that I'm rolling these hi-hats are right here, and I'm pretty much just rolling them right before the snare at these points right here. So I'll show you this example. As a beat progresses, you want to start doing things like incorporating your open hats and your perks. Obviously, you want to keep building up elements until you get to like a certain hot spot in the beat, and then you can start taking the elements away again. What I personally like to do is introduce kicks and then the open hats together so that you just get like that maximum slap effect, and then I take it away. This particular kick I'm using comes from a Balenciaga kit. This is what it sounds like without any of the processing. What I want to show you with the kick is how to get it sounding like this, nice and crunchy. I have this kick up here and it's being routed to channel 1 in my mixer. This is where the signal is first going in. I have a separate channel that's specifically for compression, and then I have a separate channel that's specifically for saturation. And then I have this final bus where I'm sending all the signals into this one channel, and then it's going back to the master. I'm using the CLA 76 compressor from Waves, pretty much just jacking the ratio all the way up. It's a fast attack, fast release. Yeah, I'm taking away like over 10 dBs of gain from it. Looking at the mixer track, I'm just bringing down the volume so that it doesn't sound overbearing and it just sits right. Next up is saturation. It's just something that I like doing because it can add some more warmth and punch to your kick. You can probably use any other saturator, but FabFilter Saturn has been my favorite saturator, and this is a serious gem plugin. Let me turn Saturn off for a second so you can have a listen. Yeah, so the kick's still hitting fairly hard, but when I turn it on, we're just getting this like disgusting crunch sound that's just really in your face, you know. There are several different saturation sounds that you can try to get, and I generally stick to warm tube or warm tape. I just use my ears to try to get a good drive and a good amount of mix, turn up the dynamics all the way, and then I just turn down the volume fader here to about halfway. The way that you got to look at your parallel compression and saturation is that they're 2 completely different instruments that are all trying to like work in unison to send into that final kick bus and make your kick more unique or more punchy. For kicks and hard drums, I definitely recommend JST Clip because you can get some really crazy punch, especially if you use a ×2 mode and you start pushing the volume using this knob. Let me turn JST Clip off so you guys can listen. Let me turn it on. So another big gem is to stagger your kicks and your 808s. If you're literally having your kicks sit on top of your 808s, then it's gonna clip like hell and you're gonna muddy up your mix. On this 808, I actually turned the shift up a good amount, and the shift is telling FL Studio when to activate this sound. And then my kick has this shift, and it's still shifted a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as the 808. All this is doing is it's telling the kick come in first, and then the 808s just to wait a second, like a split second, so that our sounds aren't stacking on top of each other. If staggering your kick and your 808s isn't doing the trick, you can always use a dynamic EQ. I've showed this like a million times in my other videos, so I'm just gonna link a card so that you can see the exact details of how to do it. I'm telling you, y'all, open hats, hella underrated. Y'all gotta go crazy with your open hats. Now we're moving into this section. I'm thinking of making this the hook, so I'm gonna change up some things. I made this 2-step pattern here just so that I can show you guys an awesome plugin called Effectrix. Effectrix just comes with several different effects that you can add onto your melodies or hi-hats. There are presets here, but I don't really like using any of the presets. I kind of like programming in the effects myself. The first thing that we want to do is make sure we get our timing right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It restarts after every 4 count. So if you do the math, we pretty much need to cut this by a quarter. We need to divide it by 4, so that gives us 1/8. Reverse is just a staple, and you can use this as more of an accent. That's why I don't have long reverse sections throughout the entire pattern. I'm only clicking it in at one block in certain points. X loop is another really cool one. The most important knob you have to pay attention to is your pitch change, because this is pretty much gonna chop up the sound and then either pitch it up or down. So watch what happens when I click in X loop at this spot right here. That's pretty much it. I like to use it sparingly. I don't like to add too many effects. The very last thing I want to say about this beat is how I'm mixing it. And so what I started doing recently is making 2 separate mixes. Any producer or engineer will try to tell you to mix your beats so that it hits at -4 or -6 dBs, and that's so that when an artist buys your wave lease, they have room and headspace so that they can insert their vocals and then mix around that. I made a specific mix at this beat that peaks at -6 dBs. I make the second mix, which is what I'm showing you guys right now, so that I can get some crazy sounds and loudness on platforms such as YouTube and BeatStars. This is what everything is looking like when I don't have any effects on my master. You see my kicks are hitting at -5 dBs. 808s are at -7 it seems like. Sorry, at -8. And my snares are hitting at -5 as well. Every engineer will tell you, do not get this beat and do not try to put vocals on top of it. But it's fine because this is only the version that I'm presenting to artists. When they actually go to download the files, they're gonna get a different mix that's a lot more tame. We're getting that nice wavy distorted sound, and we're suddenly down at -3 dB. Use the 2 times mode and just crank this sucker up. For this second beat, the main thing that I want to showcase is making the drums in 3/4 time signature. Again, we're using Ron Da Vinci loop. He absolutely slayed this loop. This is from his second loop kit, I think. So again, links down in the descriptions. Go check it out. So I'm using an 808. This is pretty much a Zay 808. Hey, I already built out this drum pattern. It's pretty simple. All right, so check this out. Probably noticed this weird warp sound effect at the very end of the reverse 808. We can get rid of that by turning the sample start to the right. So that's pretty cool. We can go ahead and put some claps in. The majority of this pattern is going to be made using a 1/3 step. Maybe right here. I think that's it. That's dope. Woohoo! One extra thing I added off camera was this rim from the Capital drum kit. and it sounds kind of like a bongo. I went down to control and I selected panning, and I pretty much just created this pattern. I haven't mixed down the beat yet, but I'll give you guys a listen to a preview of the mix. It's pretty much going to be the same process that I did for the first beat, so there's no need for me to repeat myself. Before I show you the preview of the beat, I just want to give a huge thank you if you got to this part of the video. If you did, drop a gloss down in the comments so I know who the real ones are. Big shout out to you because we hit 700 subs. We're getting close to that 1K mark. My goal is to hopefully get 1K by December so that I can drop my new drum kit / loop kit that I'm dropping with Ron Da Vinci. You heard 2 of his loops here, so you best believe that this kit's gonna be awesome. So if you want to be a part of that, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I'll love you long time. If you have any ideas or any suggestions, then please hit me up on IG at kazebeat. And without further ado, I'll show you this last beat, and as always, I'll see you soon. Peace.
Oh, it's cause I let them drums talk.